everyone. We're here to talk about the topic of, finding the relevant solutions to help with your work. Let me actually take a quick poll of the room. Can you actually tell me, all of you, who actually is responsible for security in your organization? Okay, some of you. How about compliance and privacy-related tasks? Oh, okay, actually several of you. How about who among you have to deal with GDPR and regulatory requirements? A lot of you. Great. So thank you for having us here. My name is Hae-jun. I am from Microsoft 365 Compliance Marketing Team. I'm joined by my team member, Tina. We're going to talk about how to reduce costs and risks of investigation and litigation with advanced eDiscovery and auditing solutions within Microsoft 365. With our session, we hope that you take away first video, and I'll actually go with the video first, and we'll talk about objectives.
We live in a time where digital transformation is profoundly impacting our lives. From the way we connect with each other to how we interpret our world. This transformation is causing a tsunami of data. And policymakers continue to work to ensure standards are in place. But adhering to these standards is often complicated. To thrive in this privacy-focused era, you need a trusted partner who can help simplify the complexity. Microsoft runs on trust and takes a principled approach to the products and services we offer. In your compliance journey, assessing your risk is critical. The Compliance Manager provides several benefits, including an ongoing risk assessment, actionable insights, and simplified compliance. Protecting and governing sensitive data is also important to ensuring trust and meeting regulatory standards. Microsoft 365 solutions are designed to protect sensitive data wherever it lives and automatically govern your data footprint in the cloud. With the amount of data growing like never before, responding efficiently to data discovery requests is more important than ever. Microsoft helps you intelligently respond to requests by leveraging AI to find the most relevant data, helping reduce the costs of eDiscovery. No matter where you are in your compliance journey, trust Microsoft to help.
So with this session, we'd like to talk to you about what tools we have available for you when you need to find relevant data and when you have to produce that data efficiently. We're going to talk about advanced eDiscovery and some of the latest and greatest features that we have available in public preview. We'll also briefly touch on auditing capabilities. Let's actually start with kind of a market view. This is probably not a news to you. Data explosion is real, right? Data is our currency for digital transformation, but also biggest risk. Gone are the days that you can just secure the perimeters of your organization and be rest assured. Now data is everywhere, in and out of your systems, not just your employees or customers, but partners and vendors. Everybody carries data with them, and they don't know where the sensitive data is. The data landscape and getting handle on your digital data is the most important priority when it comes to getting handle on how to meet the regulatory requirements and also litigation requirements. When we think about compliance, we look at a lot of key trends in the market, a lot going on. But it comes to this kind of three macro trends we'd like to talk to you about that actually comes to three key recommendations we have for you. First, we talk about this sheer number and volume of regulatory updates coming to you. I'm sure this is not any news to you, but if you think about what's happening with the GDPR, there are many regulations around the world just springing up. Brazil, India, Japan, California, and some other states in US. Many countries in the world are thinking about kind of next generation of regulations that are much broader and actually bring you new challenges. One of the stats says there are more than 200 regulatory updates daily coming to your teams. How do you keep up to even understand those requirements, interpret them, and actually do something about it? That is a challenge. That is a challenge for you. That is a challenge for Microsoft as well. And we want to actually share that burden with you. Secondly, we've already talked about data, but estimated 163 zettabytes of data being created just in a few years. This is IDC data. 1 zettabyte is 1 million petabytes. So just unthinkable amount of data. My teenager son, who just got his mobile phone, his cell phone, does not know words such as data limit, right? He's born in the era where there's no such a thing as network capacity or data limit. To him, data is unlimited. So we'll reach a point where there's this indescribable amount of data that needs to be governed and protected. Last but not least, cost of compliance is increasing year over year. So if you think about number of solutions you have to use in order to address the regulatory requirements, ever increasing data volume, your cost is increasing. But if you think about cost of non-compliance, that's increasing at greater magnitude. If you think about headlines and all the things you hear about, you cannot afford to be non-compliant. All of these together, again, come to key strategies that we could recommend you. One, this is really time to think about moving to the cloud. If you're fully on premises, all those regulatory requirements that you cannot keep up with, the burden is 100% on you and your organization. You have to think about how to secure and be compliant on all of the controls. When you start moving to the cloud service providers like Microsoft start sharing the responsibilities with you. Sometimes up to 70, 80% of controls. So that leaving you only 10 to 20% to worry about and implement. So this shared responsibility model becomes very important in today's very regulatory privacy era where you need to really start seriously thinking about moving to the cloud. Second, adopting comprehensive information governance and protection strategy. This sounds obvious, but we talk to customers, literally they're over 100 years of history of a company, but they kept everything. They kept literally every single piece of data and they don't know what they have. Another extreme, we talk to customers who actually have delete everything policy. They delete everything that is 1 year old, right? They don't want to have anything on hand. These are two extremes, and you need a strategy that's probably somewhere in the middle. You want to know what sensitive data you have, when to delete what you don't need, what to keep, how long. By the way, often this requirement, this strategy is not about technology. It's about whether your business teams talk to each other and agree on governance policies. Last but not least, use fewer tools. Use fewer tools that are more integrated, that can span end-to-end scenarios. Some of our most mature companies, most mature customers come to us and say they have upward of 80 plus point solutions they have to use in order to meet their regulatory compliance. And they have a talent shortage in their teams to just learn about how to use those tools. So one, you have to buy those solutions. Two, you have to train your staff to use those solutions. Three, you have to make solutions talk to each other. Now, more and more, this problem will propagate. And using fewer tools that are more integrated becomes very important. So these are key strategies that we want you to think about. And with that, we think Microsoft is uniquely positioned to deliver you values. And our compliance capability values in 3 categories. One, we like to help you assess risks in your compliance posture in simplified process. Second, we like to help you govern and protect data with more integrated tools. And last but not least, we like to help you respond to your regulatory requirements and investigation needs with more intelligent tools. This kind of assess, protect, respond is this continuous cycle of benefits that we like to deliver to you. And today in this session, we're going to talk more about respond pillar, where we'll go deeper into what's coming to our search and discovery capabilities like eDiscovery as well as auditing. So going into our topic here, if you're familiar with eDiscovery, actually show me your hand who works with or in legal teams. Can you show me your hands? Oh, one person working with risk or legal teams in your organization to produce a certain data. on investigation needs? Some of you? Great. So then you know being able to actually reducing volume of data that you need to search is very important. Often, the cost in legal teams, by the way, we will talk about how Microsoft legal teams work, and they use capabilities and what they were able to do in our session. The legal teams spend a lot of money and time to find relevant data, and often those time is spent on actually excluding what's not relevant. So finding relevant information is super important. So how do you do that? How do you then track activities and have audit trail to prove that you're meeting compliance obligation? And then last but not least, do you have a process to review the information that you have searched and compiled and produced case? Here's the principle of our search and discovery solutions. Search and discovery solutions really is our advanced eDiscovery solution, but we like to think of it beyond litigation. It is primarily legal scenarios, but you can actually expand the capabilities to think about things like internal investigation, right? Or even insider threat type of situations. But let's focus on kind of a legal situation here. So what you do need to do is be able to search across multiple locations. When you have a custodian here being either your employee or ex-employee who's on legal hold, right? They are being investigated. You need to be able to search across the locations for that custodian, whether it's their mailbox or their own OneDrive, or shared space like SharePoint or OneDrive for Business, or even Teams or groups. You need to be able to search across those properties as well as some of the non-Office 365 data like FileShare or other apps. Being able to actually hold the data where it is becomes very important because once you export the data, again, the cost and time increases. Being able to use advanced analytics to be able to actually, again, exclude what's not relevant and include just what's most relevant, super important. Also, things like without not having to use different tools to review and redact or annotate within the content that you found, right? Being able to find search and find content, being able to hide certain things that you don't want to share, like company secret, but still be able to produce a case, that's super important. All of this go beyond litigation, as I mentioned, and we'll talk about things like data subject request, which is really important, as you know, for GDPR, uses these capabilities fundamentally to help you. So let's talk about the journey Microsoft legal team has gone through. Microsoft legal team last 10 years brought a lot of things that legal team used to do with external third parties into in-house team. We'll talk about stats in a second. But 10 years ago, what Microsoft legal team was doing in-house were very basic. Basically, when you have a request to investigate an employee or in a litigation situation, all you did from legal team was searching and exporting. So search and find, that you can do, but without any filtering or deduping or reducing the data, you then would have to export it to the third party, basically lawyers who would go through that data. Again, the cost that Microsoft legal team, we wouldn't say how many million, they had to actually spend to do this first box work was actually super high. Our legal expert who speak with us often will say heinous amount. From there, actually, they start using, they have been and working with our engineering to use some of our advanced eDiscovery capabilities where instead of just simply searching and exporting the data, they actually use things like advanced analytics and search and tagging within our eDiscovery solution to reduce the volume so that they can minimize the data, again, exclude irrelevant data so that they can export the data to the external counsel, what is most relevant. Now to where we are today, in fact, actually some of the demos that Tina's going to show you use even more advanced capabilities where we can actually do a lot of things in-house, really reducing the need to actually use external vendors, keeping the data secure. If you think about exporting your data to outside legal teams, think about the security risk, right? You have a ton of customer data, employees' data going to a different vendor being reviewed. So minimizing the data becomes very important. So here's the number that Microsoft legal team was able to share. First, let's look at the dotted line. That's actually the data employees produce in case of legal hold. So we actually, this number actually already excludes irrelevant data. 10 years ago, if our legal team had to produce data for an employee, really the data that gets put together and gets exported to external counsel will be 4 gigabyte, average 4 gigabyte per employee. You can see the staggering number. 10 years later, the number is 20x. An average employee at Microsoft today, if they are on legal hold, for the relevant data to be reviewed, it's over 80 gigabyte on average. So 20x increase in data volume. The internal legal team, though, by using advanced eDiscovery capabilities where they started doing that filtering of irrelevant data, you'll see, let's say the cost 10 years ago was 100. We're not going to say exact dollar amount, super high number. Let's say 100. When they brought that workload in-house, start doing some of the data dedupe, analytics to actually start excluding irrelevant data, it actually became 27, right? Dramatic decrease. And when they actually use even more advanced capabilities like threading, keywords, right? Tagging, now, today, that 100 became 15, 85% cost reduction when there's a 20x of data volume increase. And I mean, legal team is not here, but sometimes we speak together. The tales they have to tell is like amazing. Right? The fact that they are able to actually respond to DAstar cases for GDPR within 7 days when it should be actually over 20 days worth of work actually uses some of our advanced capabilities. So let's talk about DAstar, and we'll go into kind of simple demo for data subject request using the tools available in Security and Compliance Center. First, how many of you are aware of a GDPR dashboard in our Security and Compliance Center? Oh, wow, okay. That's awesome. Thank you. So we made the GDPR dashboard available before the GDPR enactment last year in May. And Microsoft, as a cloud service provider, I am very proud to work for Microsoft because I think we have such a commitment to really share our learnings. A lot of the capabilities we'll show you today actually came from our own journey of meeting GDPR compliance. We are super transparent, and we actually have a lot of tools that you can use without having our most premium SKU. So if you're E1 or up, like commercial SKU customer, you can actually use a tool that I'm about to show you. Some of you said you're familiar with our GDPR dashboard from Security and Compliance Center. If you go to Security and Compliance Center of Admin Center, you know there are multiple tabs. GDPR dashboard is under Data Privacy tab. As you can see, under Data Privacy, you have a number of different things. If you go into GDPR dashboard, we have a kind of tools all aggregated for you to use. So if you open GDPR toolbox, for example, you'll see some of the tools that we briefly touched on when I talked about assess, protect, respond, things like advanced data governance solutions or importing data. Those are all collected in GDPR toolbox. Or things like labor usage trend, or how many labors are being used for whether it's employee record or attorney-client privilege like ACP or NDA or other contracts. They can be all showing as labor analytics. It also shows how many things are pending dispositions. Taking a look at DAstar, under DAstar, you can see that you can now track either open or closed DAstar cases. Let's just look at how to create new DAstar case. So you can see new DAstar case. If you actually click on that button, you can name your case. In this case, we're gonna create DAstar case for ex-employee who is Sarah Peterson. So ex-employee who was with us until last year. And then you can request the details. So this is Sarah Peterson DAstar. And you can confirm settings, right? And then let's say, show me the results. And it will pull all of the data about Sarah Peterson, our ex-employee Sarah Peterson, across email messages, documents, instant messages, even My Analytics. You can see actually there are a ton of data that's now pulled. Now, what you can do is actually set parameters. You can add conditions to reduce the volume of data. So if you click on add conditions here, you can see that there are many conditions you can add. Let's say you want to add some keywords as well as compliance tag. Compliance tag here is sensitive data type. So we clicked on keyword and sensitive data compliance tag. As you can see on the left-hand side, now we have a compliance tag. And let's say for Sarah Peterson, we're going to find French social security number. And then you can actually specify what locations you want to find data about Sarah Peterson that contains French social security number, right? So you can select where you want to search. And the result of that search data becomes reduced, more relevant for what you're looking for. Of course, you can export that data and set what type of format you want to export it. Like I mentioned, this was a very simple flow. For Microsoft, we get something like over 9,000 different content files per DSR cases that on average of work hours, attorney would have to spend over 400 hours to go through those contents. We actually are able to reduce it to about 1,300 on average. So 9,000 to 1,300. And we're able to actually respond to any DSR cases within 7 days. So you can see that this is a powerful tool. What we're going to show now is I will have Tina come up, and we'll talk about kind of the next generation of capabilities in eDiscovery. In fact, actually public preview. So Tina?
Thank you, Hey. So I'm going to show you a mic. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Is it on? Okay. Okay, so I'm going to show you the capability of advanced eDiscovery. So before I show you that, guess for Microsoft, we have more than 130,000 employees. And guess how many people work in our eDiscovery team to help to identify the most relevant data for data discovery? Any guess? Oh, how did you know? I want to surprise you guys. Okay. Yeah, we only have 5 people working in the eDiscovery team. And then why we only have 5 people? It's because of the advanced eDiscovery capability that we provide. And then so today I'm going to show you the feature that is in public preview. So in the past, we had advanced eDiscovery, but then focusing on keyword search or maybe some of the pattern search, but then we didn't focus on identity. And then so a lot of the data subject requests or investigation, we want to focus on a person, a data subject. And then so that's why we heard from customer a lot about their challenges using our eDiscovery tool, that they actually need to identify the data around the custodian, not just for keywords or certain data pattern. And then we also heard from customers like saying that we need to have one place to search across the data and content that we have. And so we are really helping customers to have a more integrated solution so they don't need to go to multiple places either. So in the past, our eDiscovery team actually need to search the data, put the data on hold, and then they need to use a third-party tool to communicate it with the custodian saying that, hey, your content is put on hold, and then track whether the custodian acknowledged the legal hold or not. So it's like a very separated system. You put something on hold and you have communication on the other system. So it's very disconnected. And also the eDiscovery team highly rely on the IT professional to help them to connect these two systems. And then, as you know, a lot of attorney or people who do investigation, they are not tech savvy. They don't know how to do the coding or create a program. And then so a lot of the time they just go to the IT professional, ask them for help. And then the IT professional has so many things to deal with. It's hard for them to find time to do the coding. So that's why we want to really design the tool that is not that tech savvy, that they can use this interface, they can do everything within there easily without the need for coding or other support. So the new experience for our legal hold and custodian management will really help to identify data around a subject. And then so it's based on our AAD technology as well. So we can see what are some of the content, what are some of the behavior this person is doing in the tenant. And then we also help you to communicate with custodian using the tool that we built into the system. So without further ado, I'm gonna show you this demo. So the Advanced eDiscovery Public Preview, you can find it in the Security and Compliance Center. And then it's under Search and Investigation. So once you click on this and come to the dashboard, it gives you a quick summary of what are the cases that you have in your tenant now. And then you can actually go to one of the case here and then see the case progress here. And then now I want to open this one, Investigation 1234, to just show you how it looks like. What's the new experience? So you can see the new experience is that we changed the navigation bar here. So you can see it's an end-to-end eDiscovery process from custodian to communication for legal hold, search, and creating a working set, which is like an investigation project, a case within a case. And then you also have, you can see what are some of the eDiscovery job that is going on in the system. You can also remediate the errors within the eDiscovery, so it's defensible. You can show your auditor how you remediate those errors. So once you come to the dashboard, you have a clear view about this case summary. So for a really talented eDiscovery manager, they can quickly see, whether it's an email-heavy case or whether it's a document-heavy case, how to approach this case. So this summary is very insightful for them to refine their search queries. And then if I click on the custodian here, then now here is a new experience. I can actually add a new custodian. And so here I want to add a new custodian for DAS. This is the person I want to do the investigation. So I click on DAS and then I click next. Then you can see I can choose the workloads for DAS. We can choose Exchange Online or OneDrive, and Teams will come soon later. And then I can click on next, and I can choose whether I want to put DAS content into legal hold. If I want to, then I can check the box and put the content on hold. And now I create this custodian and the hold. I want to communicate with DAS to let him know that his content is on legal hold. So I can create a new communication. So this communication part is really based on your organization needs. Like for some of the region, the law requires to let the person know their content is on legal hold. And they need to see that the data subject, they actually acknowledge the hold. So you need to provide auditor this kind of record. So it really depends on the policy that your organization has. So if you have that kind of obligation, then you can use our tool for the communication and acknowledgement of legal hold. So here, I'm gonna choose DAS as my data subject, and I can also pass like a template of notification I want to send to DAS. So I don't need to write it 10 times. It's like a template I can use. I can put in variables here, like display name, the name, etc. I can put in the acknowledge link in the notification, and then I can also set up the rule of this notification. So when I'm going to issue this notification, if after a few weeks, let's say DAS is really bad at checking the email box, we need to remind him. So you can set up this reminder policy within eDiscovery as well. And maybe after 2 weeks, and then after several times of reminder, that still hasn't responded, then you can escalate to his manager saying that, hey, he needs to acknowledge it. So there are some of the policy you can set up here easily. So you don't need to keep coming back and checking with that because there's a system help you to do so. And I click on next, review the communication and then create it. So this is the experience of receiving the legal hold notification. So if that's click on the acknowledge link, then it will show to that's like, hey, like we know you acknowledge this legal hold, and then we have the record to show to the auditor or regulators as well. And then so till now, then you might have some question. How about SharePoint Online? Like how about the group content? So here is another place you can put on hold for this SharePoint Online, which is not non-data subject content, non-custodian content. So under the hold tab, you will be able to create a new hold. And then here you will be able to choose the SharePoint Online stats or other share content that is non-custodian focus. You can also add condition here. Either you want to just put on hold for certain content that include keywords or certain content that is creating between dates. So here I'm gonna add condition for date. And for SharePoint Online means that any content that was modified between these dates, then I'm gonna put it on hold. So you can do that as well. So there are a lot of other conditions you can do for the legal hold. And I click on next and then put things on hold. So this is the legal hold management and also the custodian communication part. And then a lot of other customers' pain point we hear from them is that they use our advanced eDiscovery, but every time the search query, when it's the same search query, the outcome is a little bit different because there are live versioning on the SharePoint Online or OneDrive that people are actually editing those files. So it makes sense then if the file keeps changing, your search query and outcome will change the eDiscovery export outcome. And then so we really want to help customer to solve that problem as well, because once you create an eDiscovery case and export all the data into a file, it needs to be the same if you use the same search query. So it's defensible. So you can prove to the regulator and auditor that your search is correct and your mechanism, your process of data discovery is the right process. And then so we create this new data collection feature that can help you with that process. So for example, when you do the search query, we give you analytics and preview. So you can quickly see, oh, if I do this search query, how many files I can export. And then you can see a summary. If it's the file size is too big, too many files, then you can refine and tune your search query again easily. So it's like back and forth. You can see the analytics, you can see the preview, and then tune your search query accordingly. So you don't need to wait until your search completed and then tune your search query again. So that's like something that we added into the eDiscovery capability. And we are doing more deeper processing. So we index more metadata and then more file types. And then we also help you to create a static set of documents. So it's like a snapshot. Whenever you create a working set, it takes a snapshot of all the file you want to include in this case, and then put in a static view. So no matter how you change your search query or no matter when you did that, the outcome will stay the same because the working set is the same. All the document within that working set will stay the same all the time. No matter how your end user is editing the document, the working sets will stay static. So that's a new feature that we didn't have before, and we just added in January. And we are supporting more Office 365 workloads and content type as well. So I want to show you this working sets new capability. So here, after placing legal hold, I want to do some search. I want to start to search my content. So I can create a new case here. And then since it's an initial search, I don't want to narrow the content to too small scope. I want to make sure that I can include all the data I need and then refining after the initial search. So I choose the date as my condition, and you can choose other condition type as well. So here I'm going to add the date as condition, And I'll add my custodian desk. And then I can choose other sites that is non-custodian content. So you can choose that as well and create your initial search. And let me skip this too, so I can show you the demo. It's more direct. So once you create a search, you can see there's analytics and preview here. So here is the pre-collection analysis I mentioned before. So you don't need to wait until this search is completed. You can actually quickly see how many files will be extracted based on your search query. You can see a preview of some of the sample document to make sure that you have the right initial search. And if not, then you can go back and edit your search query. And you can create a working sets based on this search query. So here I want to take a snapshot, and this is the sets of document I want to review for this case. So I create a working sets. So once I create a working sets, I can actually go to my working sets tab and then click on this working sets. And then you can see for this working sets, because it's only a demo account, so the amount of document I need to review is not too significant. It's 384 items now. And I just want to quickly show you what are some of the things you can do with the working sets. So you can see on the left-hand side, there's search query, like the template you save for your account. And so you can actually create your own queries. So you can see there are 3 queries that we already created for this case. And if you want to create a new query, like a search query or filter, you can do so by yourself. Like I can actually add a search query saying that I want to see all the document with the keywords earnings. Or I can also choose a thing. So I can choose like the thing of the document. So using our machine learning, we help you to identify what are some of the category of things that you have within this working sets. And so you can choose the things you want to include into your search query and then see those items, review those items. So I'm not gonna create this one, but you can play around and create your own search query filter. And here I want to show you, like I created one before for multimedia. So once I click on this multimedia search query, I can see all the files that has multimedia, like images or videos. So you can see I can actually click into the items and view the items within the experience, which is pretty cool, that you can just review your content within this eDiscovery experience. You don't need to jump out and come back again. And then you can see, remember we have 384 items before, right? And then here I have a search query that is unique content. Once I click on this, you see the number change. It's 117 items here. So this unique content search query actually use our near duplicate analysis and email threading technology to help you to identify the distinctive items you need to review. So the near duplicate technology help you to identify what are some of the duplicate content and just show you one for your review. And then the emails reconstructing, they help you to just compile all the email message to show you the most updated one. So for example, if I have a communication between me and Hey for 10 times, I don't want to read 10 emails. I just want to read the most updated one, the newest one. And then so that email threading technology can help you to just show that the most updated email message you have and review that one only. So your attorney can save a lot of time to go through this duplicate message. So now I click on this unique content and I decrease the number of items I need to review. And I want to show you how you can review it. So if I click on the sample, this one, then you can see, now I can see these files within this experience. So here you can see 3 tabs. The first one is native view. So native view, you can see the Word document, the Excel spreadsheet, the PowerPoint directly within this experience, which is our strong advantage here because other eDiscovery vendors, they won't be able to show you the formula of the Excel spreadsheet cell. They won't be able to show you the notes in a PowerPoint. But then because we integrated with our own application, so you can see all those details within this experience. If you don't want to see like the native view, you can also choose to just see the text content as well. So the text view is the second tab. And then you can also start to annotate or redact your document within the experience. So here, if I go to this annotation view, I can actually start to mark my document. So I can say I want to highlight this header, so I can add color into this highlighted. And then I can also choose to redact a text here. So I choose the text, and then I can put on redaction here as well. And then if I want to redact the area of content, I can also do so. And then here, I can also choose a pencil to mark and annotate the document. And then I can also do redaction for area of this content. And if you want to see what's behind this redaction content, you can actually click on this. And then it shows you the content behind the redaction. So you can check whether you redact the right content. And redaction is super important because a lot of time before you export the data out of your Office 365, you want to make sure you redact the sensitive information to reduce the risk of any data breach. Or for example, when you have DAstar coming in, you don't want to share with this data subject other sensitive information you shouldn't share with them. So the review and redact before the export can really help you to meet that objective. And then you can see there are some of the tabs here on the right-hand side that you will be able to see more detail about this document. So for example, you can see who had access, who added this document before. So if you're doing some investigation, you want to know who added this file before, who had access to this document. So you can make sure you have comprehensive understanding, not just for content, but also for the history of this document. You can see like the parent items of this document as well. And then you can see what are some of the conversations that had this document included. What are some of the email or the message that included this content, who shared with us with which message. So you can see the detail here as well. Another very cool thing is that we have near duplicate technology, right? And a lot of customers, they want to know, like, when they select one, when the system helps them to automatically select one document, what other document looks like. So here you can actually see other duplicate content. And then if you choose one, and then once you choose this, and you can compare this document side by side. And then in the future, we're gonna help you to highlight what are some of the difference between these two documents. So you know what are some of the duplicate content we have, or what are some of the difference we need to highlight when you do the investigation. Yeah, so it's a quick demo about advanced eDiscovery, very cool feature. And then our eDiscovery team is actually using this technology for our own data subject access request. So you can see this data that Hey just mentioned before, that we receive a notice, like a 7 days notice, saying that, hey, I want everything about this person's data. When we do an initial search, we find out that there are more than 9,000 files the attorney needs to review. Assume that attorneys can review 400 items per day, and it means that they need to take 3 days to review all the content, which won't help us to meet the deadline in 7 days. And then so through the near duplication or other ML and AI technology, we will reduce that amount of content into 1,300 unique items that attorney need to review. So you can see we reduced almost 90% of attorneys' time to review the content. And then we can review all the content about this data subject within 3.5 days. And so this is a very compelling number. And then so we think eDiscovery is not just for litigation, not just for legal team. It's actually helping you to discover data for other compliance applications as well. Okay, and then so the next thing I want to quickly touch on audit. So some of the update about Audit Log is that it's actually on by default for your Exchange Online. So if you use Audit Log for Exchange Online before, you must remember the painful process that you need to configure for each mailbox. And now we make it become tenant-wide setting. So you just need to turn it on, and every mailbox is covered by the Audit Log. So Audit Log is within Security and Compliance Center, and you can easily find it, and then you can do some search to see, for example, if I have an NDA document that are shared by internal employee to a person outside of the organization, I can actually go to the Audit Log and see who shared this content, who download this content, who sent this content to which person. So you can do that through the Audit Log capability. And then we also have another really cool update is that in the past, if you have E3 license, then you only have 90 days of Audit Log access. And now we just announced it the end of last year that for E5 license, you will be able to get 1 year Audit Log access. So we are extending that Audit Log period so you can do your search and investigation for a longer time. Okay, so that's the audit and demo, and Hey will help to tell you what are some of the key recommended next steps.
Yeah, so thank you, Tina. So hopefully you got some little taste of what you can do using the tools that's available now and also coming very soon. We talked about the GDPR dashboard, the things like DAstar tools that we showed you. You can actually play with it today. So if you haven't, please take a look. Then we want you to take a look at advanced eDiscovery capabilities. So there's E5 trial. So if your organization doesn't have E5, go ahead and take a trial and actually start playing with some of these advanced capabilities. This is our second session of the day. We have things like advanced data governance, things like records management, advanced eDiscovery, and some of the things that we talked about in auditing, all included in our Microsoft 365 E5. So take a trial is my kind of second call to action for you. Last but not least, learn about these tools and access all the resources we have in aka.ms/eDisco. So thank you so much for joining us. We talked about Microsoft 365 compliance solutions. I think we still have a little bit of time. So if you have questions, we're happy to take your questions, or otherwise, thank you for joining us today.